Praise be to Jesus. Hi everyone, Charles with you here. Faithful Catholics protested in Georgia as Father James Martin gave a pro-LGBT speech at two parishes in the Atlanta Archdiocese. The pro-gay Jesuit celebrity priest spoke at St. Thomas More Catholic Church in Decatur on October 20th and at the Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Atlanta on October 21st. There were protests at both parishes, with faithful Catholics standing outside holding signage and praying the Rosary in reparation. Whoops, hold on with me a minute here. I just clicked the wrong place.
All right, here we get back to this here. Okay. One Atlanta area Catholic, Christopher Chambers, said he attended both of Father Martin's presentations. He shared his notes from one of the talks and noted that Father Martin gave essentially the same speech at both within a few tweaks. Chambers' notes on Martin's talk at St. Thomas More say the following. All right, this is what's significant here, I think. Martin then veered off and said that straight people aren't held to their accounts for their sins the way that gay people are. He said, when is the last time a couple living in sin was held to account by their pastor? When is the last time a couple was called to account for using birth control? He stated that we should all apologize to the LGBT community for having offended them. Well, first of all, he's just talking about sin in general, so I suppose he's talking about sexual sin here. But he does make a good point, you know. Do pastors hold to account people who are using birth control? I mean, maybe not individually, but, you know, have you ever, can you remember a time when a pastor gave a talk, a homily about the use of birth control? Or I would even interject here, when was the last time you heard a pastor talk from the pulpit about young people who aren't married that live together? It doesn't seem to me that I've heard anything like this. I can't read, it would have to be maybe in my childhood or something. I have no idea when I've heard anything like this. So this is a really legitimate point. What the difference is here. Now let's take the example of, instead of the clergy and the hierarchy going through this crisis of homosexuality, however you want to define that. Let's just put that aside, and let's say what was happening was there was a lot of priests and hierarchy were found to be having heterosexual relations. Would we make such a big deal about that? And I think what Father Martin would say is no, that we wouldn't. But I really disagree with that. Pastors and any clergy involved in any kind of sexual relation is, not only sinful, it's a serious sin. And, after all, these are our leaders. These are the people that we're to look up to. These are the people that, are supposedly to help us in a lot of different ways. So, I can't imagine if that was the case that it wouldn't be a big deal. It would be a big deal. It's pretty obvious to see the
the Pharisee, the present-day Pharisees running the church. In other words, they say one thing, but they're doing something else. So, there is, very little talk about, birth control, or especially about young people who live together. I really don't come across anything where, people are drawing attention to this or bringing any kind of concern. But, that doesn't, those kinds of sins aren't integrated into our church. So, there's a real difference there. But at the same time, this is a legitimate point. Well, I somehow think that, Pope Francis has, he said things like there is more love in some relationships where there isn't a marriage than there are in married relationships. So he's sort of put these, put the whole concept of love as being more important than, more important than marriage. He said some things in the last, 5 years that equate, playing down the marriage part and playing up the love part of it. And, whether anything's going to happen with birth control, I would think so. It's one thing at a time here. Well, anyway, I thought I'd bring you that story there. And I don't know. I ran across a site that has a bunch of really some good prayers for the kind of situation that the church today is in. So, I'll be adding them to the playlist for those that are interested. And in the playlist, even though the video is not marked public, you can still right-click on it and copy the video address if there's, let's say, a particular prayer. I really like this litany prayer. I think it's really right on target. It's really good. If you wanted to send it to someone or something, you could send them the link. As long as the person has the link to an unlisted video, they can view the video. You just need the link. The link doesn't appear in public places, but it'll appear if you right-click on the video in the playlist. Okay, well, I think that's about it for right now, and we'll talk to you later in the day. Bye.